The person you cannot stop thinking about may truly care about you more than you realize. Even if everything between you feels uncertain, confusing, or difficult to understand right now, there may be a deeper reason this person continues to return to your thoughts over and over again. It is not always random. It is not simply happening because you are bored, lonely, or emotionally vulnerable today. There could be something meaningful keeping this connection alive deep within your heart and everyday emotions. This person keeps appearing in your mind for a reason. Even when you make no effort to think about them, they quietly enter your thoughts during peaceful moments when the noise around you fades and your mind finally becomes still. They appear in the small spaces between your usual thoughts, in those quiet seconds before you fall asleep, when your defenses are completely lowered. Sometimes they arrive without warning in the middle of a normal day, while you are focused on ordinary tasks. If you keep thinking about someone no matter how hard you try not to, take a moment to listen closely because what comes next might surprise you. You could be busy at work, enjoying a conversation, laughing with friends, or simply relaxing, and then suddenly their face appears in your mind as if it belongs there. Their voice, their smile, or a meaningful memory connected to them rises naturally, without effort. It feels smooth. It feels familiar. It happens on its own. Stay with this until the end, because the next part may explain something you have been wondering about for a long time. You may have tried many times to push these thoughts away and shift your attention somewhere else. You may have told yourself again and again that it is finally time to move on, and that thinking about this person no longer brings anything positive into your life. You may have reminded yourself of the confusion, the distance, or the silence that still exists between the two of you. There were probably moments when you questioned your own mind. You may have wondered whether you were creating a story that was never really there, or holding on to hope without any clear reason. You may have asked yourself why this person still matters so much, when everything feels unresolved or uncertain. Yet no matter how much you distract yourself with work, hobbies, or other people, they continue to return to your thoughts. Even after convincing yourself that you are completely finished with the situation, even after feeling stronger for a while, they remain quietly present in the background of your heart. That alone does not automatically mean something is wrong with you. It does not always mean you are trapped in the past or unable to let go. Sometimes it simply shows that certain emotions have not completely settled yet. Keep watching because the next idea often changes the way people see these repeated thoughts forever. Some connections leave a lasting emotional imprint that cannot be explained by logic alone. They are not created only through careful planning or controlled by pure willpower. They grow in a deeper place where memories, emotions, shared experiences, and personal meaning naturally come together over time. When someone continues to appear in your thoughts without you trying to hold on to them, it can sometimes suggest that there are emotions that still feel unfinished inside you. Perhaps something important was deeply felt even if it was never fully spoken. Maybe something meaningful was shared, even though it was never clearly defined or given a proper label. It is also possible that the other person still thinks about you from time to time, even if they have not reached out or openly expressed how they feel. Of course, no one can know another person's private thoughts with certainty, but silence does not always mean the absence of care. Feelings are not always revealed through direct words or obvious actions. Many people carry emotions quietly because they feel confused, overwhelmed, uncertain, or afraid of making the wrong move. If there is someone who keeps returning to your thoughts no matter what you do, let that remind you to stay patient with yourself. The final part may help you understand why this matters even more than you think. You may suddenly feel a wave of emotion rise inside you. It could be warmth, it could be sadness, it could be a quiet sense of longing that seems to appear without any clear reason. Even when there is physical distance or emotional silence between you, you may still feel connected to this person in a way that is difficult to explain. That does not automatically mean your imagination is fooling you. Deep emotional connections often work beneath the surface where they are not easy to understand. They rarely follow perfect rules or predictable timelines. Instead, they quietly influence your thoughts, memories, and feelings in ways that seem impossible to describe. There is nothing weak about feeling this deeply, because caring is part of being human. Real emotions do not disappear the moment your mind decides they should. The heart often moves at its own pace. When someone truly leaves an impact on your life, they leave behind something that cannot be erased overnight. That emotional mark stays until it has slowly been understood, healed, or transformed by time and experience. This does not mean you should pause your life or stop growing while waiting for someone else. It simply means that what you shared mattered. The connection had value. Confusion does not erase love. Silence does not always remove emotion. Distance does not automatically mean the other person feels nothing. Sometimes it simply reflects fear, uncertainty, or an inner battle they have not learned how to express. Keep watching, because the next part may completely change the way you see this connection. You may never receive the clear answers you have been hoping for, or those answers could arrive when you least expect them. No one can promise how another person will respond. But whatever happens next, your own experience is still real. The thoughts that keep returning are not meaningless. The emotions that continue to rise inside you are not without purpose. They belong to a chapter of your life that touched your heart and quietly changed something within you. If this person continues to appear in your thoughts, it may simply be because the emotional story between you does not yet feel complete. That does not mean it will stay this way forever. It only means the connection was important enough to leave a lasting impression. Things that truly matter often need time before they settle peacefully inside the heart. During this season, be patient with yourself. Do not judge your feelings harshly or pressure yourself to move on before you are ready. Understanding usually arrives little by little, instead of all at once. Sometimes the greatest purpose of a connection is not to last forever, but to help you grow, teach you valuable lessons, and remind you how deeply you are capable of caring, even through uncertainty, even through silence, even through distance. The meaning of what you experienced does not disappear. Stay with this until the end, because there is one more idea that many people never stop to consider. When someone continues to live in your thoughts day after day, it often means the emotional bond still feels alive inside you, even if you no longer speak, even if life carried both of you in different directions, even if the silence has lasted far longer than either of you imagined. Your mind is not necessarily holding on without reason. If you feel a deep connection with someone despite the distance, it may be because your heart still senses something that feels unfinished. There may be parts of the story that never reached a clear ending. Human beings often struggle more with what remains uncertain than with what has been fully resolved. You may notice that whenever something wonderful happens, they are still the first person you think about telling. A small success, a funny moment, a beautiful sunset. Those simple moments suddenly remind you of them, because sharing life once felt natural. Even while your own days remain full and busy, you still wonder how they are doing. Sometimes you are drawn not only toward their presence, but also toward the person they are inside, their emotions, their energy, their inner world. Many people never realize that emotional connections do not always disappear when conversations stop. Silence cannot erase every feeling. Distance cannot instantly remove a bond that was built over time. The next part explains why that happens. When two people share a meaningful emotional connection, it can leave a lasting imprint deep within the mind. That deeper part of us does not measure life with perfect logic or strict timelines. It responds to meaning, emotion, memories, and experiences that still feel unfinished. If this person keeps returning to your thoughts, it may simply be because a part of you senses that the story has not completely reached its final chapter. That can also explain why everything feels so confusing. Some relationships settle into peace without much struggle. Others seem to exist between hope and hesitation, between closeness and distance, between fear and longing. Sometimes one person is afraid to become vulnerable. Sometimes both people carry emotional walls they do not know how to lower. Sometimes life itself creates obstacles that neither person expected. Whatever the reason may be, it does not automatically erase what was once real. It simply shows that human emotions are often more complex than they first appear. If this message speaks to your heart, let it remind you that healing and clarity rarely arrive all at once. They grow quietly, one step at a time, often when you least expect them. Fear does not always erase love. Sometimes it simply covers it for a while. It creates distance where closeness is wanted, but feels unsafe. You may have asked yourself many times, if they truly care, why have they not reached out? Why have they stayed silent for so long? These are natural questions, but feelings do not always move in straight lines or follow the path we expect. Many people experience deep emotions, yet struggle to express them in healthy ways. Some protect their hearts because of painful experiences from the past. Others are still carrying emotional wounds from relationships that never fully healed. Some feel trapped between responsibility and desire. Others quietly believe they are not worthy of receiving the love they long for. Many think they must become a better version of themselves before allowing someone close again. The mind naturally returns to what the heart has not completely understood. That is why this person often appears in your thoughts during peaceful moments, when your mind is quiet and your emotions are open. At night, after the distractions disappear, your deeper emotions become easier to notice. During the day, when your guard relaxes for a brief moment, those same thoughts return naturally, without any effort. If you want to discover why this person still lives in your mind every single day, stay with this message, because the next part may answer questions you have carried for much longer than you realize. These thoughts are not something you are forcing into your mind. They appear on their own, and that is an important detail not to ignore. Thoughts that arrive without invitation often come from emotional layers that run much deeper than everyday thinking. There is another reason this feels so powerful. When memories of this person return, you are not only remembering who they are, you are also remembering who you became when you were with them. Certain people awaken parts of us that had remained quiet for years. They help us feel more alive, more understood, or more connected to ourselves. When that connection changes or disappears, it can feel as though a part of your own identity has become distant too. That is why the longing often reaches beyond simple attraction. It is connected to something much deeper. Distance between two people who care about each other does not always exist because love has disappeared. Sometimes timing, sometimes fear, sometimes personal struggles quietly stand between two hearts. You may sense that something unseen is keeping both of you apart. That feeling can be difficult to explain, yet it often deserves honest attention. When emotions remain active without clear resolution, the heart naturally keeps searching for understanding. Keep listening because the next part explains why your emotions can seem so different from one day to the next. You may notice that your feelings change unexpectedly. One day you feel calm, strong, and completely ready to move forward. Then a simple song, an old message, or a familiar place suddenly brings every emotion rushing back again. That emotional shift is more common than many people realize. It does not mean you are moving backward. It simply shows that your logical mind is trying to protect you, while your emotional side is still processing what happened. These two parts of you do not always move at the same speed. Healing is not about forcing yourself to forget someone overnight. It is about understanding why the connection touched you so deeply, and what it is quietly teaching you now. Sometimes a relationship stays in your heart because there is still something important to learn from it. Sometimes it remains because honest communication never truly happened. Sometimes both people are growing toward the same emotional understanding, but they arrive there at different times. Life rarely brings perfect timing to every relationship. If you feel this message speaks to your own experience, let it remind you that emotional growth often happens in silence, long before anything changes on the outside. Stay until the end, because one final truth may bring everything together. If you believe they still care but continue to keep their distance, it is possible they are facing an inner struggle you cannot fully see. No one can know another person's private thoughts with certainty. Yet many people hesitate because they are afraid of rejection, afraid of losing what little connection remains, or afraid of changing a life that already feels uncertain. They may think about you more often than you realize. They may wonder whether you still care just as deeply, but instead of moving forward immediately, they stay cautious because fear often speaks louder than hope. Love is not always loud. Sometimes it hides behind silence. Sometimes it waits behind careful choices. Sometimes it quietly watches for a moment that feels emotionally safe. A lack of action does not always prove a lack of feeling. Right now, the most important thing is not trying to control how the story ends. It is paying attention to what this connection is revealing about you. It may be teaching patience. It may be strengthening your self-worth. It may be encouraging you to stop chasing certainty and begin trusting your own growth instead. Whether clarity comes through a renewed relationship or through peaceful acceptance, your feelings are not foolish. You are not weak because someone still crosses your mind. You are responding to an experience that mattered deeply to your heart. When something truly changes us, it rarely disappears overnight. If distance remains today, time and personal growth may still be shaping both lives in ways that cannot yet be seen. If this message speaks to your heart, remember one final thing. What is truly meant for you will never require you to lose yourself in the process. It may ask for patience, it may ask for courage, but it should never demand that you abandon your own peace or your own value. Whether this bond grows stronger in the future or gently fades with time, it has already helped shape the person you are becoming. And if one day the distance naturally disappears, it will happen because both hearts have finally reached a place where fear no longer stands between them. Until that moment arrives, trust that what you are feeling may carry meaning, even if you cannot completely understand it right now. When someone keeps appearing in your thoughts again and again, when their presence stays with you from the beginning of the day until the quiet hours of the night, there may be an emotional connection beneath the surface of ordinary life. Sometimes people think about each other without ever saying it. Sometimes feelings remain hidden, even from the person experiencing them. They may remember you, miss you, or feel drawn toward you, even if they never openly express those emotions. Love does not always reveal itself through obvious signs that everyone can notice. It does not always arrive through dramatic actions, confident decisions, or immediate steps forward. Sometimes love appears through patience. Sometimes it appears through silence. Sometimes it appears through someone carefully holding back because they do not want to damage something they consider valuable. The person you cannot stop thinking about may carry strong feelings for you, feelings that feel powerful and constant within them. But having love in the heart and being ready to act on that love are two different things. A person can care deeply and still feel unable to move closer at this exact moment because of personal struggles, fears, or circumstances. They may feel like they are not enough for you. They may see your kindness, your patience, and your value, and wonder if they can truly give you what you deserve. They may fear causing you pain because they understand how meaningful the connection feels. Sometimes they believe the timing is wrong. Sometimes life feels too complicated. Sometimes they are still carrying emotional wounds from experiences that happened long before you entered their world. They may still hold pain from past relationships, broken trust, disappointments, or difficult memories that influence the way they approach love today. They may worry that getting closer could create problems they are not prepared to handle. So instead of moving toward you openly, they slow down. Instead of sending the message they want to send, they hesitate. Instead of expressing everything they feel, they keep those emotions hidden inside. This is not always because their feelings are weak. Sometimes it is because their feelings feel too intense and difficult to control. When emotions are casual, people often act without much fear. They take chances. They speak freely. They move without thinking deeply about consequences. But when someone feels that a connection truly matters, they often become more careful. They begin thinking about what could happen if things go wrong. They start considering the impact of their choices. They become aware of what is truly at risk. If you feel that someone is thinking about you, but something is stopping them. Leave a heart, because this part may describe what many people experience silently. Deep feelings can create hesitation because the person knows the connection has importance. They are not only protecting themselves, they may also be trying to protect the bond they share with you. Many people struggle to understand why distance can exist even when strong feelings are present. The reason is that distance is not always created by a lack of care. Sometimes it comes from an internal battle happening inside someone. One side of them feels your importance. One side remembers the connection, the comfort, and the emotions they experienced with you. But another side feels fear, pressure, uncertainty, and doubt. These opposing feelings create a conflict that can be difficult for them to manage. They may repeatedly ask themselves questions they never share with anyone. What if I cannot give this person the love they truly deserve? What if I disappoint them? What if I make things worse instead of better? What if I am still carrying pain that affects this relationship? What if I am not ready for something this meaningful? What if getting closer changes everything in a way I cannot handle? These thoughts do not always come from a lack of love. Sometimes they come from realizing how much the connection matters. When something feels valuable, people often become more afraid of losing it, so they choose distance as a way to control emotions that feel overwhelming. They step away, not because they do not care, but because they do not know how to handle the depth of what they feel. Sometimes creating space is the only method they know to calm their emotions and regain balance. They may not have learned how to experience love without fear taking control. They may not fully trust themselves when something feels this important. They may believe staying quiet is safer than opening their heart and risking disappointment. Silence can feel easier than vulnerability. Distance can feel safer than allowing someone to see every hidden fear and insecurity. But this kind of situation can be extremely confusing for the person waiting on the other side. It can make you question your own feelings. It can make you wonder whether the connection was real, or whether you are simply holding on to a memory. Yet meaningful connections do not always appear in perfect ways. Sometimes they arrive with uncertainty. Sometimes they move slowly. Sometimes they become hidden behind practical reasons and emotional walls. The person who feels deeply but remains distant may experience their own private struggle every day. They may think about you during quiet morning. They may remember you before falling asleep. They may replay conversations and imagine different possibilities. Then fear returns and tells them to step back again. This emotional back and forth can be exhausting, even if you never witness it directly. They may believe they need to become stronger, healthier, or more stable before they can offer someone a better version of themselves. They may feel that stepping away protects both of you from unnecessary pain. But emotions that are deeply felt do not always disappear simply because they are hidden. They can remain quietly present, waiting for understanding, healing, and the right moment to be expressed. Love does not always look like constant messages, endless attention, or someone chasing after you every day. Sometimes love appears as patience. Sometimes it appears as someone fighting their own fears while still caring deeply. If you feel a strong connection with someone, remember that emotions can be complicated and people can experience them differently. A distance between two people does not always explain the full story behind their hearts. Sometimes people need time to grow, heal, and understand themselves before they can move forward with confidence. Over time, fears can become lighter. Old wounds can begin to heal. Inner conflicts can slowly lose their power. What once felt impossible may become easier to face. Until then, distance may feel like a protective wall for someone who is overwhelmed by emotions they do not fully understand. But for you, that silence can feel heavy. You may notice every small change. You may feel the absence more deeply than others would understand. You do not simply see silence as empty space. You feel it through memories, emotions, and those unexpected moments when your mind returns to the same person again. You notice when warmth turns into hesitation. You notice when closeness becomes distance. But remember this, some of the strongest connections move through periods of silence, not because they are meaningless, but because people are still learning, healing, and becoming ready. Some bonds do not disappear easily because they have left a meaningful impact. A simple song, a familiar place, or hearing their name can suddenly bring everything back. If this message connected with your heart, like this video and comment the word meaning to share what you felt while listening.